Welcome back to Five Friday Feedback. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you had a chance to go back and listen to Monday's episode on the 11 lessons every investor needs to know that actually matters in moving the needle towards becoming a better investor. With that being said, in today's episode of Five Friday Feedback, we're going to be recapping all 11 real quick, going over some of Dom's favorites. Then we're going to hit our viewer mailbag. We do have a doozy for you, and of course, be finishing off with win of the week. So with that being said, I want to first recap with all 11 really quick. If you need a deeper dive into any of these more as to what that actually means, I certainly recommend going back to Monday's episode, unless of course Dominic selects that as something that he wants to talk about. So the 11 are: number 1, you don't need to be a genius to build wealth. Number 2, trying to time the market is a losing game. Number 3, volatility isn't a bug. It's the price of admission. Number 4, boring is beautiful. 5, compound interest needs time to work. 6, you will lose money sometimes. Number 7, diversification equals humility. Number 8, having a plan beats having an opinion. 9, discipline beats intelligence. Number 10, this is a big one, personal finance is personal. And finally, number 11, start now, not when you feel quote unquote ready.
Wow. That is a list and then some. I love that. So I'm not sure why we chose 11. 11's the magic number, right, guys? It's perfect. So there's a few, I love all of them, right? I love them all equally as they are my own children, right? But I do have favorites, and I have 3 favorites. I'd love to talk about them, Chris. So I'm gonna be honest. The back 3 were my favorite, starting with number 9. Discipline beats intelligence. Now, I like this because obviously we're talking about personal finance. We're talking about finance. We're all about that, right? But this can be taken outside of finance as well, right? Discipline outside, if you're in school, if you're at your job, if you're starting a business, discipline can beat intelligence, right? The undisciplined genius is nothing compared to the common man who has discipline. And that's I bet everything on it. I bet my life on it. Just don't cash it in. But it's true though. Discipline beats intelligence. Chris, do you have a story or an anecdote kind of when discipline beat intelligence? The deep thought is going deep in the archives.
I am. What I'm thinking is we should turn to ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT has to say.
You know what? I'm not against that. Let me run that up real quick. While I look that up, what was one of your favorites from last week's 11 topics?
One of the ones that I always liked is boring is beautiful. I always think that too often when you talk about investing, too many people are looking for the sexy stock, the sexy thing they get to tell their friends when they're at the water cooler or sitting out by the barbecue. Oh, I'm in this thing. My advisor has me doing this, or I'm now doing this type of trading. It's the person that's quiet, the person who's sitting in the background like, oh yeah, I just do this and it works out for me. Everyone's like, that's kind of dumb. You're not doing anything really special compared to me. My thing's working right now. But the thing that you're doing by just sitting there, staying boring, staying consistent, doing the same thing over and over and over again, that's the stuff that gets results. It's not sexy, it's not flashy, but it works.
So I do have a story about number 9, right? This one's about Ronald Reed, and I would highly recommend, all of us to kind of go and listen to this story. But the moral of his story, right? The synopsis of it was Ronald Reed was a janitor, right? Who quietly invested a small portion of his paycheck for decades. No fancy degrees, no big salary, just patience and consistency. When he died, everyone was shocked because he ended up leaving behind $8 million. Across town, a Harvard-educated financial advisor making 6 figures, who traced trends and lived a large life, he retired with barely enough, right? So Ronald didn't outsmart anyone. He just out-disciplined them, right? Because we know discipline builds wealth and intelligence just talks about it oftentimes. So make sure you're actually using that discipline muscle to take action, right? Smart guys get started, but discipline makes you rich. That is my little anecdote for number 9. That's one of my favorites. Number 10 would be my second favorite. I don't know if you guys felt the same way. Personal finance should be personal. We know this. We love this. What are your thoughts on that one, Chris?
Let's take that one. Personal finance is personal and relate it back to that story you just said. What was that person's name again? Roger Reed?
Ronald Reed, yes.
Ronald Reed. So I do know that story.
Mhm.
And it's often touted in financial circles as like, wow, look at this person, what they're able to do. And when I hear that story, it actually makes me kind of sad.
Yeah.
It's that here's a man that worked his entire life, putting in time as a janitor. It's not an easy job to do. I'm sure he sees a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And he lived a smaller life than he had to. He had this money to go out to spend, to enjoy his life, maybe to retire early, spend time with his family, with his kids, with the community. And yet he chose at the time of his death to leave a bunch of money to a charity. And while that's wonderful that he did that, how much more would that have meant for him to be around to see that, to give that to him? I guess what I'm saying is personal finance is personal. And if that was his choice that he wanted to make, that's a wonderful choice for him. And you don't need to make that choice. You can choose to live your life to the best of your ability because, as far as we know, this is the one life that we have. Yes, you might have next lives and you might be reincarnated. You might go to heaven. You might do whatever it is that you truly believe. But what we know for sure is that we have this life. Why do people so often choose to not live it to the best of their abilities, to live a smaller life than they have to in order to be financially stable, in order to be a quote unquote good person, in order to be financially literate, in order to be good with money? I say, let's set up the core things that we need to and get the hell out of the way and go on living the best life that we possibly can and let money facilitate that. But I think if you put money as the goal, having the biggest bank account in the graveyard, that's when you end up in this type of situation where you live a smaller life than you have to in order just to have a nice story about you that's written in an op-ed. But how nice is that story to this person who is now dead versus a lifetime of memories, a lifetime of experiences, a lifetime of the people that remember him grandly for the things that he did in life, not who he was in death.
100%. My dad always said, he who gives while he's alive also knows where it goes. I always tell him, I'm like, Dad, spend it all. Don't leave anything for me. Just spend it. Just blow through it, right? You deserved it. You earn it. You gave me the knowledge. That's all I need. That's all I need. Right? So I love that. I think it is a show of true character, though, right? How discipline can beat nearly anything. Truly. I mean, if you can be disciplined, if you can have discipline plus consistency, there's nothing in life you can't achieve. And I truly believe that. I truly believe that. Discipline plus consistency is the superpower of superpowers in a modern world where everybody gives in and gives up and takes the easy route. Everybody loves that well-lit path. Everybody loves that way, right? But it's the person who makes their own path. It does the hard tasks day in and day out that truly gets to live a life fulfilled, right? It's all about living a life of intention. And that's part of what I love about the personal side of personal finance is not all finance is for everybody, right? Some things that might be good for Chris might not be good for me and vice versa. And that's what I love about it. But Chris, did you have a little point on this one?
Yeah, I was thinking about something that you said when it comes to the discipline, to the consistency, to being the person that you said you're going to be. It's often not the intelligence, it's not the knowledge, it's the being consistent, even when it's boring, even when it's not working. I was listening recently to an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, and Joe was talking about back when he first started podcasting, way back in the day. And he was one of the first podcasters. No one was even listening to podcasts. And his wife had booked a trip for him and some friends to go to Disneyland. And at the time he said, oh, I can't go to Disneyland. I have a podcast. I have somebody scheduled to come and talk. And his wife looked at him and said, well, what does that matter? Like, no one's even listening to the podcast. You're not making any money off of it. Why would you do that? And he sat there and he said, because I made a commitment. I said I was going to do it. I told people I was going to do it. I booked a guest, and I believe this can be something more than it is. And it was his consistency. It was him grinding through the boring parts that allowed him to be the biggest podcaster in the world. It was him sticking through it. I think if we all had our book laid out in front of us as to what's going to happen, we realize, oh, wow, if I just stayed consistent, if I just kept on trying, it's all going to work out in the end. Then of course we would stay consistent. Of course we would keep on trying. Of course we would keep on failing forward. But since we don't have that book, we always wonder, myself included, in the back of my mind, what if all of this means nothing? And even if it does mean nothing, even if at the end you don't achieve the goal that you wanted to, you will end up in a different and most likely better place than had you never tried at all.
It's kind of like the quote, like the destination motivates you, but the journey transforms you, right? You have to fall in love with the journey. A person who loves to walk will go further than the person who loves the finish line. You have to fall in love with whatever you're trying to accomplish, right? And that's what I love. That's what I love. Like when Chris and I started this podcast, like we had a goal, right? But we never knew how much it would kind of transform ourselves. If you go back and watch don't go back. Don't go back and watch those early ones.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a trap. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. But they were terrible. They were terrible. Objectively, they were the best we could do at the time, and it was awesome for us. We loved them. But we had to do those terrible ones to get to where we are today. Right? Where we are today is, right? We're more conversational. We're less choppy. We're better public speakers. We're better teachers. We're better podcasters. We're better people. And it's those things that you don't expect along the journey that will transform you. There's such an opportunity cost if you don't at least try, if you don't stick with it, if you have no idea what you're missing out on. You have no idea. You have no idea. Life is so random. It is so mysterious. You have no idea what you're missing out on. I met Chris because my mom found an ad for his services in a magazine. And my mom asked me to go with her to the meeting, as I do with a lot of different financial meetings. And I mentioned podcasting. I'm like, you should do a podcast, because I know Chris, he mentioned that he loved he loved listening to podcasts. I'm like, you should do a podcast, right? Who would have known, right? Many years later, here we are. Like, we're good friends. We're learning. We're teaching. We're becoming better people. I mean, life is a roller coaster, guys. Take it for what it is. Take it by the grip. Enjoy it for what it is. And just never back down. And don't forget, discipline always beats intelligence. Just believe in yourself. I'm on the soapbox right now. I got to give it back to Chris. I could talk for 2 hours straight, but I'm giving it back to my guy here. So, Chris, reel me back in. Reel me back in. I need to be reeled back in.
You know, I think you brought up a lot of good points. And I know we're really hitting on the discipline beats intelligence one. And I think that's just so important to hit on, because there's too many people that think I can't get started because I'm not smart enough. I can't do it because of this or that, or I wasn't brought into the right school system. My family doesn't understand it. The person that can stay consistent, there is someone who is far dumber than you, who is far more successful than you out there. It is all figure outable. You might not know every single step of the journey right now, but I guarantee you know how to put one foot in front of the other. You can figure out one thing, and then one thing, and then one thing, and then one thing. And eventually, when you look back on that journey, you'll be like, Jesus, how did I get here? It was all one step at a time.
And I would also say, right, if you're starting something new and you have the entire journey planned out, you're going to get slapped. It is not going to go exactly how it's planned. It never goes exactly the plan. I love that quote from Mike Tyson, right? Everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face. It's so true, right? With anything in life, you can have the best plan, the best idea, the best way to execute it. Things change, right? The only perfect plan is the plan that's in the planning phase. I think that was Douglas MacArthur who said that, or George S. Patton. But, you know, it's the ability to adapt. My friend Thomas, he has a beautiful quote, right? Try and pivot, but never quit. And I always love that. I just love that. So unless you've done it before and you're like, hey, this is the path, I'm bringing people with me. This is the path. This is the way. That's a little different. Right? That's a little bit different. But if it's your first time and you've never done it, a great plan is great. We love that. But you're going to face adversity. And just like in number 5, number 6, you're going to lose sometimes. And while this is a financial point, right, you're going to lose some friends sometimes, you know, on this journey of financial independence, on this journey of life. You're going to lose some time. You're going to lose some money. There's going to be losses, but that's good. losing is the best thing that can, and I don't mean this like in a weird way, but like losing is the best thing that can happen to you. It really is. It really is. It's just the best thing that can happen to you. And I'll talk about it for maybe like 10 more seconds, right? Losing gives you the opportunity to be better. Losing makes you appreciate what you have. The end, stuff like that, it gives value to what is. So make sure to have some gratitude. Make sure to have an attitude of gratitude. But with that, I'm going to pass it back to you, Chris. Do you have a final one that you would like to shout out, or do we want to send them back to Monday?
I would say go back and listen to Monday's episode, hear the whole thing, but I do want you just to be left with number 11. Start now, not when you feel ready. You have to just get started. And if the chasm's too wide to bridge, if you're saying like, I don't know how to go from here to even having a brokerage account, okay, can you Google it? Can you just go to ChatGPT and say, I want to start investing? Like, ask a question. If you're looking at something that's too big of a chasm to jump, if it's too much I'm asking for, cut it in half, make it smaller, cut it in half, cut it in half, cut it in half, until there is something you can do. Even if that just means today you go onto Google, you go on to ChatGPT, you ask the question, and then you immediately exit out. Don't even read it yet. Tomorrow, read it. See what it has to say. Tomorrow, talk to somebody. Try to get a little bit better. But the people that wait, that say, eventually I'm going to do it, when this happens, when that happens, when blank, 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 when all of the stars align, then I'll be able to do it. Those people never get started. That's the person who looks back on you today in 20, 30, 40 years and is so pissed off at you for not setting them up. And the messed up thing is that you are the exact same person. Who you are right now is the person you will become. So try to be proud of who you are today. So that person who is child you, looking at yourself today, is proud of who you're going to become. And the person that you will become gets to look back and be proud of who you were. Don't wait. Get started. If it's too big, half it, make it smaller. But you need to start somewhere.
You know, that reminds me of something that David Goggins said on Joe Rogan's podcast. I don't know. He's been on there, I think, 3 or 4 times. But this quote kind of reminds me of what you were saying, right? He was early morning. He was on a run, as he does. And he was running past a graveyard. And he was wondering, I wonder how many people are in the graveyard in there are just pissed, just angry about how they lived their life. And he talked about how when he was 300 pounds, he would just pray like, please, God, just don't let me die like this. Don't let me die like this. I can do more. I can be more. And a lot of us are in that situation. Maybe we're not 300 pounds, but maybe we're carrying a 300-pound baggage, a problem. Maybe it's a vice, something. We all have such a greater potential than what we're currently operating at. If no one believes in you, know that Chris and I over at the Fi Guys, we believe in you. We know you can do it. Start today. And I think that's why number 11 is probably the most important out of the 11 investing tips. And really, it's not just for investing. It's for everything. It's for everything. I truly, I beg you, please do not die like this. Please do not die like this. There's so much left in the tank. And the most beautiful thing you can do is get to retirement, get to 60, get to 70, and look back on your life and be like, man, I made a lot of mistakes and I had a lot of fun. I did a lot of great things. And that's amazing. I've got a great like, that's the goal. If you're not making mistakes, then I don't think you're playing it risky enough. And I don't even know if risky is the right word. Maybe there's a better word, Chris, you can kind of come up with, but if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you're not failing, that you're not trying hard enough. You need to do more. It's our obligation as human beings to take risks, to try, to fail. And yeah, failure sucks. Losing sucks. And there's something I tell my jiu-jitsu students. It's when you win, but when you lose, you learn. Failure, loss is the most information-rich data stream that we have the propensity to ever gain. So to look at that as a negative rather than a blessing of like, oh man, thank goodness I got to have this experience now. And now I have the ability to get better. You want to fail as often as you possibly can when you're young, because that's just all of those failures. Imagine, Warren Buffett talks about this. If you had a punch card that you had to punch 20 times every time you got a failure, man, it would be your goal to run around and fail as many times as you possibly could, because you knew at that 20 failure, you get success. 21, you win. Now, I don't know how many failures you need to get to find success. Maybe it's 20, maybe it's 1,000,000. I think everyone's a little bit different depending on what they're going for. But if you continue to fail, you continue to fail forward. And if you don't quit, you will find success. It may not be the success that you want. It may not be the success that you hoped for, but it will be a form of success that you can hang your hat on. Do something every day that regardless if you win, fail, lose, or draw, you will be happy with. And that is the setup for a happy life, for a good life.
Couldn't agree with you more. I hope you take that to heart. I hope you replay that. And I hope that you do something with it. With that being said, we're going to be moving on to our next segment of Friday's podcast. We call it Viewer-Mailbag. For today's letterhead, fired for one mistake. That was my wake-up call. A lot of wake-up calls in today's stream. I love it. Howdy, Fi guys. I'm writing this because I am at a crossroads of destiny, and I could really use some perspective from people who've actually walked a different path. I just got fired from my warehouse job after a company failed an audit. I accidentally dropped a pallet during that same week, and they let me go. Honestly, I wasn't even surprised or upset. It just confirmed something I've been feeling for a long time. Jobs like this don't care about you. You're just a number. I'm 21 years old, and this experience has made me realize how broken the traditional system feels. You work hard to build someone else's dream while barely getting paid enough to survive. One mistake, or even just bad timing, you're out. No questions asked. It feels like your entire life is built around a job that doesn't care about what you make or not. What bothers me most is how normal this has become. Most people just accept it, waking up early, clocking in, trading their time, their energy for barely enough to get by. It seems like we've all agreed to giving up control of our time and living our lives. And I don't know why more people aren't questioning it. What I really want to do is build something for myself. I've been dreaming about starting a business in the automotive world, maybe a shop, maybe a custom work, maybe, but I just don't have any clue how to get there. We've both been there.
Yeah, we've been there. I'm still there.
Yeah, right. Sometimes you got to go back to square one, right? As an entrepreneur, you're always at square one. You're just always at square one trying to figure stuff out. I know it takes money to make that leap, and I'm stuck trying to figure out how others make it work. How do I take that first step? How do I sacrifice? How do I make the sacrifices to move forward when I feel broke and unsure of what to do next? I'm not afraid of hard work. I just want to count on something that's mine. Right now, I feel like a mixture of frustration, ambition, and honestly, a bit of fear. Always. That's the entrepreneurial starter pack right there.
Yeah. Bet.
I'm motivated to build a better life. That's my man. I love it. But I could really use some guidance from people who've been doing this themselves. Thanks for taking the time to read this. Any advice would mean a lot. From fired from the grind, now I'm chasing what's mine. I love it. He's in a beautiful spot indeed. You're already consuming the right stuff. So that's pretty great. That's really great. At least you have a solid outlet. Chris, what do you have for him?
Speaking of that, the consuming, I've noticed that when I look at our demographics of people that listen, we typically are hitting like millennial ages, late 20s to early 30 or like mid 30s, late 30s. What I'm finding is that a lot of people that are writing in are the younger generation, the people that are young 20s. So keep it up, guys. And to our older generation, please write in. Let us know what's going on in your life. We'd love to hear from you guys. But I really just want to commend the younger generation for having the gall, the balls, the cojones to write into a podcast to actually get help. I think that's pretty damn cool. It makes me very hopeful for the younger generation, their ability to succeed, because they have the ability to not be afraid to ask. So
I agree.
with that being said, first off, I just wanted to acknowledge our reader. You're not crazy in any way for you feeling this way. This system is designed to keep people trading time for survival, for their pay. That's the way that it's kind of all meant to be. And it's okay to feel at 21 years old. I would say that many successful entrepreneurs at 21 years old are frustrated and have no clear path. That's normal when you're at the beginning. That's because you are at the beginning of the stages. Of course, you don't know which way to go. You have every possibility in front of you. And I want to commend you for only being 21 years old and already being ahead. Most people don't question the system until it's much later, if they ever question it at all. The fact that you're able to see through the matrix at this age is extremely powerful. It means that you have, most likely, a lot of success in front of you. But that means that you're the one that has to do it. You're the one that has to walk through that. You're the one that needs to shift your mindset to be able to move forward. With talking about shifting your mindset, something that I want to make sure that I preface, not just only for you, but for all of our listeners, is that jobs aren't the enemy. Dependency on the job is the enemy. The job is nothing more than a tool. It's not your identity. It's not who you are. It's not what makes you you. You need to learn to use your job strategically while building something for yourself if that's what you want to do. I don't want you to confuse where you currently are being stuck with being at the start of something. You're not behind. You're beginning a new chapter, and those two things are completely different. You're not behind at all. You're 21 years old. Like, I don't know who you're comparing yourself to, but you're only 21 years old. Of course, you have a lot of things to do. One thing that you said, or do you have any things to say, Dominic?
No, I think you're hitting good points. I think you're hitting great points, right? It's all the typical stuff, right? Never compare yourself to anyone else. Try and, find your own path. Sometimes you have to rely on your gut, and you're going to have to fall flat on your own face. And that's sometimes the best thing that can happen. A lot of people are going to want to help you, and they have the best intentions, but sometimes their information is very flawed, right? Very, very flawed. They come from a place of fear, oftentimes, right? If your parents, I know a lot of parents, right? When a child wants to go into entrepreneurship, I want to start this business. This is it. Well, that's great. Well, just once you get a stable job and do that on the weekends or something, right? They're fearful for them, right? They don't see a path forward. But maybe you're someone who's blessed. Maybe you're someone who's blessed who can see further. Muhammad Ali, when I think he was fighting Joe Frazier, everyone was like, don't fight, or I think it was George Foreman. They're like, don't fight. He's going to kill you. Please, don't fight him. Don't fight him. And he goes, guys, calm down. You're seeing it at this level, 1,000 feet up, right? But I can see it 40,000 feet up. I see further. I know I can beat him, right? So maybe you're that entrepreneur. Maybe you can see further than your parents, right? Or the people in your circle. So trust your gut. And as an entrepreneur, you're going to have to trust your gut. You're going to have to really get good at trusting your own instincts, right? Because if you fail, it's on you. If you succeed, it's on you, right? So I'm going to pass it back to you, but that's kind of my current little tidbit of information. And I got more coming right after your next segment.
Cool. And I'll if you have anything, please let me know.
Yeah.
One thing that you mentioned to our podcast, to our listener, is that they said that money is a barrier. Money is the barrier to where they want to be right now. And I'm going to say that's only half true. The resources you have in life matter. The money matters. But your skills, your relationships, your initiative to open more doors are much larger than cash alone. So I think when you say, oh, I can't do any of these things right now because I don't have the money, that's only half the problem. Do you have the skills? Do you have the relationships? Do you have the initiative? I think we need to have some practical steps towards entrepreneurship that you need to understand. You need to, most importantly, you need to get clear on your vision. What do you want to do in the automotive space? Is that repair, custom work, performance, detailing? It sounds like you're kind of stuck in the void, and that's okay. You're starting. That's where I want you to be. But I need you to get clear on these things. You need to start small, but you need to start now. Can you flip a car? Can you flip motorcycles? Can you offer mobile service like oil changes or detailing somewhere? Can you partner with someone who has a garage and start learning the business? And while you're doing that, can you document your journey using maybe social media to share some of the things that you're doing in order to build credibility with future clients? Even if right now you're just learning, because people love to find somebody who is in their journey and to see them progress, to be like, oh, wow, this person is self-taught and they know so much. And I can see that journey happening. And that's okay that you're stuck. That's okay that you're not even stuck. That's okay that you're starting, because everyone at any point had to start. We only see the successes in hindsight. Obviously, Mark Zuckerberg was going to be able to make Facebook work. Obviously, Elon Musk's able to make Tesla, freaking every other damn thing he's doing.
Yeah.
Obviously Bezos is going to make Amazon work. But there was a time that Facebook was just two guys in a dorm who were trying to rate how hot the girls of their college class was. There was a time that Amazon was just a guy out of his garage in Seattle selling books. We don't know what path it's going to take, but it takes getting started. It takes working extra hard every single day until you get there.
Yeah.
So I want to give you a little bit of financial advice that might be helpful. But first, Dominic, do you have a point there?
I just wanted to just right as you were mentioning legendary entrepreneurs, right? One thing that you'll learn about being an entrepreneur is you can't let the lack of money stop you from accomplishing your idea. You can't let anything stand in your way of accomplishing your idea. Nothing. If this is your creative vision, like Chris said, and just ruthlessly focus in on it. Ruthlessly. Elon Musk is very ruthless like this. I learned from him that, how he makes his decisions is, will this get us closer to a multi-planetary species, life on Mars, or not? If it's yes, let's continue. If it's no, no, right? The lack of money for starting, right? I totally understand. We've all been there, right? But there's going to be times in your journey as an entrepreneur where you're going to be broke. You're going to have nothing. Everything will fail and you'll rebound and you'll fail again, right? It's the cycle of things, right? Expect it to be painful. Expect it to just burn in an embarrassing fashion, right? But you've been blessed with the ability to take that risk. Most people aren't able to take the stress of being an entrepreneur, honestly. The public embarrassment, the pain, the late nights, the early mornings, the constant emails. I mean, you're going on vacation and still worrying, right? So don't let this not having enough money to start, that's the simplest problem I can think of. I can think of 10 different ways to come up with some funding, right? So don't get stuck on that. There's so many. I don't know where you're located, but a lot of cities will offer small business loans with very little or no interest. Go to these entrepreneurial meetups. I went to one a couple weeks ago. Very insightful, right? The city wants to help you. The banks want to help you. People want to help you, right? So you're not alone in this fight, but I want to pass it back to Chris because I know you've got a ton of knowledge to drop on him as well.
Yeah, I'd love to give him some financial advice that isn't going to be I'm just being a buzzkill when it comes to it. Yeah. And with that being said, is what I would like you to do is, I know you just lost your job, is try to find a bridge job. Try to pick something up that's flexible, that pays the bills, but doesn't drain you enough that you can't start something else. I want you to start buying yourself time and build yourself energy to build something on the side. I know there's a lot of people out in the entrepreneurial space that say you need to burn all the bridges, you need to go 100% into this idea. But like Dominic said, and what I've experienced in my entrepreneurial journey, is you will fall into setback after setback after setback. It was Winston Churchill that once said that success is going from failure to failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. And if you are dependent on how am I going to survive, how am I going to pay my bills next month, that enthusiasm is very hard to keep. So that's why I'm not the guy who says burn all the bridges and go 100% into your job or into your career, into your side hustle. If it works, wonderful. But for 99% of people that it doesn't work for, there is one success. And you only hear about that one success, not about the 99% of people that fail. So being able to have that other job, that bridge job, is the thing that allows you to stay in the game when you lose. When you get kicked in the teeth, you're able to continue fighting. With that being said, in addition to that, you need to track your spending ruthlessly. You need to know exactly how much money is going in and exactly how much money is going out and where it is going out. And you need to cut ruthlessly in order to ensure that you are trying to keep your expenses as low as you can. Because it's all just an equation of how much money you make minus how much money you spend. Ideally, we're making as much money as we possibly can. That's the goal. But until that happens, you need to be ruthless on how much you're spending. Because if you can make your spending very, very low, that gives you so much more room to continue to try to grow. Because it's just a reiteration game of you going longer and longer and longer. The longer you try, the more you fail, the higher the chances of success are. I wish I could tell you exactly what to do to knock it out of the park the first time. If I knew that, I wouldn't be we'd be probably having a very different podcast. That's just not the way that the world works. I wish I could tell you that. There are people out there that tell you, I know the path, you just have to follow this system. They know the path that worked for them in their time, in their situation, with their personality, with the situation they found themselves in the time frame they found themselves in. You are in a different time, I guarantee it. You never step into the same river twice. That includes yourself. Because you are different, the river is different, everything is different. You also need to stack your skills, not just cash. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to learn sales, customer service, basic accountings, and these are going to pay off far more than the money will in the early stages. But being good with the money and being good with the skills, that's what's going to get you to the next part of the journey. That's what's going to get you from being where you are now to being able to run a company without all the stress, without being able to do that, without having to constantly be concerned. With that being said, we should also talk about connections and mentorship. I know that you just lost a job, so you're probably like, I don't want to find mentors. I can do this on my own. I guarantee you, you cannot. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger that said, you can call me anything you want, but you can't call me a self-made man. Arnold Schwarzenegger realized for all the things he's done, governor, actor, bodybuilder,
investor,
none of those, investor.
He was a great real estate investor too. People don't know this. People don't know this.
That's how he made his money before he became an actor. All of those things. And he still says he is not a self-made man. There are people that took risks on him. Even if you had no one growing up, someone took care of you from the age of 0 to about 5. After that, maybe you took care of yourself. Maybe you can say you were raised by wolves, maybe something. But even there, somebody took care of you. No one is self-made in this world. No one comes into this world alone. No one leaves this world alone. Find people who are a few steps ahead of you. So that means DM local shop owners. Go to car meetups. I don't know. Ask questions. People love to help people. And like Dominic said, you also need to take their information with a grain of salt. You need to be a scientist. You need to take the information, apply it to your life, see if it holds up. You have a thesis, you test the thesis. If the thesis holds, we continue with the thesis. We continue running that over and over and over again. This is the physics of progress. This is the empirical method of becoming good in business. And in order to do that, in order to find mentor, you need to offer value before you ask for help. So can you help the shop owners with cleaning, social media, I don't know, just grunt work in exchange for learning? Too many people think, why should I even go ahead and put work into something if I'm not getting something out of it? If I'm not getting paid what I'm due, then what's worth it? What's better for you? Having more money or having the knowledge to make substantially more money in the long run? You are at the age, 21 years old, where you need to fail. You need to suffer. You need to try your best. Because if you make the hard choices today, you will set yourself up for an easy life. But if you do what everyone else does, when you look for the easy choices today, you set yourself up for a hard life. So I want to give you some real talk before we close out today. Most likely, you won't get rich fast. But you can build a life you own if you are consistent. Knowledge is often not the issue. It's consistency. It's boring. It's hard. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Start messy, beats not getting started every time. And also know that you're not alone. There are a lot of people that feel exactly the way that you want. Just most people won't admit it, and even bigger than won't admit it, they won't take action on it. There's a lot of people that will admit it, they'll talk, they'll bitch, they'll complain, but most people won't actually do something with it. And it sounds to me like you're the kind of person that will. So go out, succeed, fail forward, and eventually you will find the success that you have always wanted in your life, probably even more. May not be exactly where you want to be, but it will be better than where you are now. You'll be able to look back on the journey and be like, wow, this took a lot of twists and turns, but I'm so happy where I am. And if you're not at that point, keep on going.
I love that. I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah, that is some good stuff. We wish you the best of luck on your new journey for what it will make of you. And man, the entrepreneurial journey makes a man out of you. So with that being said, best of luck from the Five Guys. And we're going to be moving on to our win of the week. So Chris, what do you have for your win of the week?
So my wife and I and some of our best friends just returned from a vacation to Playa del Carmen. It was such a good time to spend time with our friends. And it was one of those moments that puts you back or reminds me that money isn't the goal. Obviously, without money, we wouldn't be able to go on this vacation.
Yep.
And even with that, the money just helped to facilitate being there with your friends, being there with your family, creating those connections. We could have done the exact same thing for free had we not had the money that we have. We could have gone on an amazing camping trip. We could have spent time just with each other. But too many people, they go through life thinking, if I only had money, then I would have more friends. Then my family would love me. Then I would be more fit. Then I would be everything that I want to be. Money helps. I would never say that money is not a good thing. Money does help a lot. It takes away a lot of stress. It is amazing. But don't fall in love with what money will make you. Fall in love with who you can become because of money. Because money just amplifies who you are. If you were a dick, you're going to be a dick with more money. If you were a good person, you're going to be a better person with more money. It just helps to show your character to the best of your ability. So with that being said, find what your values are and find how money helps to facilitate those values. And I guarantee you that money is not the value that you're looking for. Money helps facilitate the values. So you need to be clear on what that is for you. For me, it's my family, it's my friends, it's my fitness, it's making forward progress.
Absolutely.
It's helping other people. And you need to know what that is for you too. Dominic, what is your win of the week?
My win of the week is right before the podcast. Chris was writing an email. I said, Chris, hey, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I got an idea. I got to go to the kitchen real quick. Went to the kitchen. I thought I was out of cheese. Right? Chris and I, we live different lives. We live totally different lives. So my win of the week is I was like, so before the podcast, like I was saying, ran to the kitchen because I was like, man, there's this dish I want to make tonight, but I don't know if I have all the things. And I'm not leaving the house. Hell no, I'm not leaving the house. It's hot as heck out here in Arizona. I'm not leaving the house. Okay, boys. So I went to the kitchen and lo and behold, a fresh packet of cheese. I'm like so happy. So for tonight's win of the week, I'm going to be making some focaccia style hot honey pepperoni pizza. And I'm excited because I'm going to do it right this time. Last time I was in a bit of a rush, so I had to speed up the dough rising process. So this time I'm going to actually let it rise for 2 to 3 hours, then roll it out again and do the fold thing, and then let it rise for another 2 to 3 freaking hours. So, I'll eat dinner at 1 in the morning tonight. But I am super, super excited about that. So that is my win of the week. And yeah, that's it for me. Any final thoughts, Chris?
No, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. Guys, if you got any value out of today, which if you're still around and haven't got any value, then I'm sorry, I guess, that you stuck around this long. But even if you didn't find value, hit that like button, subscribe, but most importantly, tell a friend or a family member about the Five Guys. Bring someone along for this journey of financial independence. Let them join you so you have someone to bounce ideas off of, someone that you can talk to late at night, call on the phone. Hey, how much money did you save today? This doesn't sound like a fun conversation to have. It's not. But you want to have somebody on this journey. You want to gamify it. You want to try to bring somebody along, because the worst thing that can happen is you end up being financially independent. You get to that point and no one is there with you. You were the only one and you left everyone else behind you in your wake. It might sound good to be the only person that found success, but it is really, really boring. You want to bring more people along.
It's very, very lonely too. Very lonely. With that being said, guys, we're the Five Guys. We appreciate you listening and getting something from this and learning and taking action. With that being said, we'll see you guys on Monday. You guys have a great weekend.
Later.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.